Imagine this scene. The year is 1622. A powerful African queen enters a room to negotiate with a Portuguese governor. The governor,
is the only
smart
path to
and
lasting peace
disrespectful,
between our kingdoms,
sits
Queen.
on the only
The
chair,
terms must be accepted.
expecting her to
They will
stand.
be. Born
But
into
she
an era
is
of
no
chaos, she
ordinary
became Queen
woman.
Nzinga,
This
the
is
embodiment of
Queen
fearless
Nzinga
resistance against the
Mbande.
invaders.
Without
To
a
assert her
word,
sovereignty,
she gestures to
Queen
one of her
Nzinga
servants,
utilized
who
an
immediately
attendant
gets
as her
on all
throne,
fours,
refusing
creating
to
a
be seen
human
as
throne for
subordinate.
her. Nzinga sits, now at eye level with the shocked governor. This single act of defiance perfectly captures the spirit of the woman who would fight against European colonial powers for nearly 40 years. Who was this incredible queen? And how did she become one of history's most formidable anti-colonial leaders? To understand Nzinga, we have to go back to the late 16th and early 17th centuries in Central Africa. The Kingdom of Ndongo, located in modern-day Angola, was in a desperate situation. The Portuguese had established a presence on the coast and were aggressively expanding their territory. Their main goal? To control the lucrative slave trade, capturing people and devastating communities. The kings of Ndongo had been trying to push back the Portuguese for decades, but the invaders, with their superior firepower, were relentless. This is the world Nzinga was born into. She was a princess of the Mbundu people, and from a young age, she was trained in military tactics, diplomacy, and statecraft. Her father, the king, recognized her sharp intellect and fierce spirit, often allowing her to sit in on political meetings and military briefings. She wasn't just a bystander, she was a student of power. She learned how to negotiate, when to fight, and most importantly, how to survive. When her brother became king, the situation with the Portuguese grew even worse. He was not the skilled leader their father was, and the kingdom weakened under his rule. It was during this period that Nzinga was sent as an envoy to Luanda to negotiate that famous peace treaty with the Portuguese governor. The human throne incident wasn't just for show, it was a calculated political statement. She was telling the Portuguese that she would not be subjugated, that she was their equal. During these negotiations, Nzinga demonstrated her incredible diplomatic skill. She learned Portuguese, converted to Christianity for strategic reasons, and even took the baptismal name Ana de Souza. She successfully negotiated a peace treaty, securing Portuguese recognition of Ndongo's sovereignty and an agreement to withdraw their forts from her kingdom as territory. It was a massive diplomatic victory, but peace was short-lived. The Portuguese, driven by greed, betrayed the treaty almost immediately. They resumed their slave raids and aggressions. Around this time, Nzinga's brother died under mysterious circumstances, and she ascended to the throne in 1624. Many nobles, unaccustomed to a female ruler, challenged her claim. But Nzinga was not one to be intimidated. She was a warrior queen. She ruthlessly crushed her internal rivals, consolidating her power and proving that she was the rightful and most capable leader to defend her people. With the kingdom unified behind her, she turned her full attention to the real enemy, the Portuguese. Nzinga knew she couldn't defeat the technologically superior Portuguese army in a direct confrontation. So, she did what all great strategists do. She adapted. She abandoned the traditional capital and led her people into the interior, establishing a new base in the nearby kingdom of Matamba. From there, she launched a brilliant and relentless guerrilla war that would last for decades. She was a master of hit-and-run tactics, ambushes, and lightning-fast raids. Her soldiers, loyal and disciplined, knew the terrain intimately. They would strike Portuguese supply lines, attack their forts, and then melt back into the jungle before the enemy could effectively respond. Nzinga didn't just command from a distance. She often led her troops into battle herself, well into her 60s. Imagine the sight, a queen armed and leading a charge, inspiring her warriors with her own bravery. But Nzinga's genius wasn't just military. She was also a master of alliances. She understood the principle of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. She forged a powerful alliance with the Dutch, who were rivals of the Portuguese and had their own interests in the region. She provided the Dutch with intelligence and military support in their fight against the Portuguese, and in return, she received weapons and training for her own army. This was a game-changing move. It leveled the playing field and put immense pressure on the Portuguese. Beyond that, she also created a coalition of local kingdoms and leaders, uniting them against the common European threat. She even established her kingdom as a safe haven for runaway slaves and those fleeing Portuguese oppression, swelling the ranks of her army and building a multi-ethnic, loyal following. Her kingdom became a symbol of freedom, known as Quilombo, a free territory for all who resisted slavery. For nearly 40 years, Nzinga fought. She outsmarted, outmaneuvered, and outlasted countless Portuguese governors and generals who were sent to defeat her. She became a legend, a nightmare for the colonialists who could never seem to pin her down. They threw everything they had at her, but she was always one step ahead. Her resilience was extraordinary. She faced betrayals, military defeats, and personal losses, but her will never broke. Her goal was clear: the complete independence of her people and the expulsion of the Portuguese. While she never fully achieved that ultimate goal in her lifetime, her resistance was incredibly successful. She severely disrupted the Portuguese slave trade in Central Africa for decades and prevented them from conquering the interior of her kingdom. She forced them, time and again, to come to the negotiating table and treat her as a sovereign ruler. In her later years, as the political landscape shifted and the Dutch were eventually expelled from the region, Nzinga once again showed her diplomatic brilliance. Realizing she could no longer rely on external allies, she negotiated a final peace treaty with the Portuguese in 1656. This wasn't a surrender. It was a treaty that recognized her as the Queen of Matamba and Ndongo, securing her kingdom's independence, which it maintained long after her death. She passed away peacefully in 1663 at the age of 80. Having spent her entire adult life fighting for the freedom of her people. So what is the legacy of Queen Nzinga Mbande? She is more than just a historical figure. She is a global icon of resistance, strength, and brilliant leadership. She shattered the gender norms of her time, proving that a woman could be a master diplomat, a formidable military commander, and a revered queen. She was a symbol of anti-colonial struggle, a beacon of hope for all who fought against oppression. Her story is a powerful reminder that history is filled with incredible heroes who stood up against injustice, often against impossible odds. Nzinga of Ndongo and Matamba was not just a queen who sat on a human throne. She was a giant of history who built a throne of resistance that an empire could not topple. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as inspiring as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the stories of incredible people from history. See you next time.